Hello and welcome. You're watching Tigray Television English Program Service. Here are today's news. UN Ethiopia paid one-day visit to Mekelle on Friday. A delegation led by UN Resident Coordinator and Humanitarian Coordinator in Ethiopia, Catherine Susi, had discussed with President Debretsion Gebremichael on humanitarian development after the signing of peace deal in Pretoria. Catherine Susi visited Ida Comprehensive Specialist Hospital, where she appreciated the commitment of the staff and noticed the severe lack of medical supplies in the hospital. In her briefing to media in Tigray at Mekelle Banaga International Airport, Susi said that the humanitarian need in Tigray remains to be huge, while stating that regular humanitarian flight to Tigray will resume by next week on Thursday.
This has been a really good short mission. I'm here in Mekelle, in Tigray. Arrived this morning with some of my United Nations colleagues, accompanied by personnel from the humanitarian community who are coming here to serve and work with many other people in responding to the needs of people in Tigray. It has been a sobering mission, but a very good welcome one. One of the encouraging things has been that the peace agreement has clearly made a difference in the morale and the motivation of people, communities, including the humanitarian staff. I started off with a meeting with my colleagues where we had a discussion on some of the issues pertaining to our ability to deliver assistance. We were able to talk about how the increase in the number of road routes into Tigray, not only around Mekelle, but Alimata, Maisebri, all from Gonda to Humera, reaching to Shiraro and Shire, has really made a difference in getting access into the region. There's also an appreciation for the flights into Shire and Mekelle, and we will start regular flights that will bring in not only people but community commodities, especially health and medicines related, of which there has been a huge shortage. The needs are enormous, and even with the increased routes, where we hope to get to as many villages where people are and households with not only food but nutrition, health and medicines, seeds and fertilizers, for example, we will need a lot more than we have at the moment. Yes, the trucks are moving on the roads and now the air freights are coming through, but this is an appeal to everybody out there to please provide more resources because the needs of the people remain huge. We have been able to visit a hospital. We went to the Ida hospital in Mekelle, and in spite of the huge challenges in that hospital, what was so encouraging was also a similar motivation that the peace agreement has brought. It's important that we maximize on the benefits of this agreement. The staffing of the hospital are working under very difficult conditions, but are still providing services to all those people in need. However, the needs remain huge, and we were only able to visit the hospital in Mekelle, but there are many, many satellite clinics outside in the villages, similar to what we saw around Shire and surrounding areas, where children, women, men, communities come for assistance, and sometimes it's just not enough. So calling out, please, that the United Nations will continue to do all it can, working in very, very close partnership with the non-governmental organizations, the international and the national and community-based organizations, working with the authorities, both in Tigray but also in Addis, to ensure that the needs of the millions of people out there and in here are met. We have a commitment we've made a commitment as humanitarians that we will do our contribution to ensure the peace agreement is maintained. I thank you for listening.
Head of Tigray Bureau of Agriculture and Rural Development, Atinkut Mezgebo, also said Catherine Suzy had a good discussion with President Mikhail. According to Atinkut, Catherine Suzy learned about the positive motivation of the people of Tigray to the ongoing peace process. Let's take a look.
She visited Shire last week, and this is the follow-up visit for her. So she observed the situation in Tigray. This is just like a follow-up on visits after the agreement signed in Pretoria between the government of Ethiopia and the government of Tigray. She appreciated what is happening, about the positive impression by our people, how our people are committed for the peace deal, how the government, and just, she really observed what is happening in Tigray. More importantly, she also mentioned the opening of 4 corridors. The 4 corridors are just operational. This is good news for all of us, because this is just like a guarantee for us. If we have supplies out of Tigray, there is a possibility. 4 routes working, so this is a good news. So she appreciates this one, and we have to celebrate for this, for the resumption of these four corridors. However, considering the amount of trucks or aid that's coming and the need that is required on ground, it's mismatching. So the response needed in Tigray is just a lot as compared to what we have received in the last 2 weeks, I can say. So she had a meeting with UN agencies, international NGOs, humanitarian NGOs, national NGOs. After that, she had a discussion also with the president of Tigray, Dr. Debretsion. She had a good discussion with him. So she visited also Aider hospital. So this is like, basically it's humanitarian areas. She requested the international community, donors to support the need in Tigray. That is just what we have seen from her briefing, also from reflection from her visit. So that is a big step for us. However, this problem is also locally, so there is also an assignment for local actors like regional government and just federal government to work on this issue. From our side, we have to facilitate this humanitarian activity just to reach the people. So we are doing our best. Of course, there are also attempts from the federal government, just these checkpoints and like clearance notification. So there are good beginnings. However, there is a need of refinement on this issue. So this is also a takeaway. For the federal government to work on this one, because after all, this peace agreement is just a good start for all of us as Ethiopians. The only way out to come out of this challenge is through peace deal. So we don't have to wait for another peace deal. This is just here. This is already just accepted by the people. This is highly appreciated by the mass. Everybody is just very eager just to live in peace. So this is a big message for us, as Ethiopians.
We spoke to mothers and health professionals in Kasich Health Center in Mekelle who say vaccines have to reach Tigray in the shortest time possible, stating that children should not longer pay the heaviest prices. Salome Tigrai has the details.
This is Kasich Asfaw Health Center in Mekelle. The health center has run out of vaccines for newborns and children a long time ago. But there is always at least a couple or more mothers trying to find vaccines for their children in Kasach. And this time an even higher number, following the signing of a peace agreement that has promised an immediate delivery of humanitarian assistance. But mothers we met at the center say there is still nothing for their children, not only at this center, but anywhere else across the state.
I came here looking for vaccines for my child. She's 3 months old. I went to Maqala Hospital, Sarawat, Adshimdhun, Adha, and everywhere a vaccine could be found, but I found nothing.
My child has not been vaccinated. There isn't a place where a vaccine could be found that I haven't visited.
I was displaced from Afar. I walked several kilometers on foot from Ab'ala while I was pregnant and gave birth here. My child has not been vaccinated since birth.
CEO of the health center Almaz Lassi recalls how busy and crowded Kasach used to be 2 years ago, before war broke out and when services were provided to at least 200 people in a single day.
2 years ago, this place used to be filled with mothers trying to vaccinate their children and women coming for contraceptives. Mothers struggle a lot to find vaccines for their children. When they come here and learn there is no vaccine, they go to other places only to be told there is nothing there as well. This is where we kept the vaccines. As you can see, it's empty. We used this box to transport vaccines as well, but there is nothing to be transported.
The mothers and medics we met at the hospital say they are happy about the agreement, but wish to see the deal coming into effect sooner than later.
We are really worried about our children. We need the deal to be implemented at a faster speed so that we can find vaccines for our children.
What has been signed on the papers needs to come to effect on the ground. Children are paying a heavy price.
We hope this deal solves problems in health facilities as well as the socio-economic problems in the community.
Humanitarian assistance has started to trickle into Tigray, but many say more needs to be done as children's lives hangs in the balance.
Continued attacks on civilians in the district of Europe in eastern Tigray have residents fleeing their homes. Heavy Eritrean presence in Tigray has meant indiscriminate shelling and looting and destruction of civilian properties. We spoke to residents who had their homes burnt and looted by Eritrean forces that say they are yet to see changes in their living conditions despite the signing of a peace deal. Sarah Kalali has the details.
This is what's left behind after Eritrean forces attack a city, properties looted and houses burned to the ground. In a way of abating the fear of shelling, displacement and killing in the hearts of these people, the peace deal is yet to bear fruit. The district of Irob in eastern Tigray is home to one of the ethnic minorities in Tigray that has been the target of Eritrean aggression since the beginning of the war on Tigray. More recently, Eritrean shelling displaced many in the district, forcing the residents to leave everything behind in search of safety.
For a whole month, the shelling didn't stop. This is all that's left of our belongings. They entered through the door and burned everything, including the television. My house was burnt and other houses were looted as well as shelled. You can see the sky through the roof.
First, we were forced to leave our homes due to the heavy artillery shelling. After we fled, we hid under a bridge and they entered the city on foot. We didn't have anything on us. We left all our farm animals behind. We didn't even have time to lock our doors. And we just left in the dead of night.
Residents were hopeful about the peace deal brokered between the two parties in Pretoria more than 3 weeks ago, but say their living conditions are yet to show any sign of improvement.
When we heard about the peace agreement, we thought our lives would go back to how it once was. We were happy, but we're still under siege. There's nothing that has changed for us.
When we heard about the deal, we thought we would be able to go back home, that we wouldn't have to worry about food or clothing. We thought we would be able to reunite with our family members.
Looting and destruction of civilian property by Eritrean forces was a common occurrence in the district, says local official Miskinna Alama, but says more distressing was the psychological trauma that was inflicted on the residents.
Innocent civilians were killed in a mass, and properties were looted and destroyed. Farmers were forced to quit their work and had their grain looted. Psychological trauma to a point where the people have started to lose hope in life has also been inflicted.
The promise for the withdrawal of non-ENDF forces is yet to be implemented.
Health workers in Magala, the capital of Tigray, say hundreds of patients are dying from lack of medicine on a daily basis, even after the peace deal agreement was signed between the federal government of Ethiopia and the Tigray regional state 3 weeks ago. According to the health workers, basic medical supplies are still inaccessible, though the agreement emphasized immediate and unfettered access to essential supplies, including food and medicine. Abraha Gabrielsay has the details.
Health workers in either Comprehensive Specialized Hospital and Maqal Hospital expressed their grave concern regarding the continued deaths of patients due to lack of medicine, even after the peace accord in Pretoria, South Africa. Dr. Foyn Tesfai, a gynecologist at either Comprehensive Specialized Hospital, says children under 5, newborns and delivering mothers are dying in an alarming rate.
I think ህዝብ ትግራይ እውን እቲ ሰላም በሃንቀውታ ተጸብይዎ.
The herald of peace accord from South Africa triggered hope among the people in Tigray, who have been desperately waiting for peace and hoped that they would receive unfettered access to medicine and food. It's a huge security relief for our people, as the guns have been silenced since then, and small amount of aid trickling into the region. But the death of children under 5, newborns, and delivering mothers has still continued at an alarming rate, as the medicine and medical equipment we've just received is far from enough.
Sister Foyn Girma is a nurse at Maqal Hospital and she is a case team leader at the medical ward of the hospital. She says that she is losing patients in front of her eyes as medicine and medical equipment are still inaccessible.
Many patients are dying due to lack of medicine. There are no medicines and medical equipment. We don't have gloves, plasters, and other medicines. We sometimes use our bare hands from desperation, although we know that it's risky. We're happy to hear about the peace agreement. But if it couldn't bring you what you hoped, you become suspicious about it. I myself have become doubtful, as the medicine and food that the peace deal has promised are yet to be fulfilled. I wonder what is getting on their way to supply aids. We're still grateful for the peace as it made us more secured than before, but our demand for food and medicine is still unmet.
A 24-year-old Friat Alomu, whom we met at Maqal Hospital, also says she has been in the hospital for almost a month, but she couldn't get any medical service due to lack of medicine and medical equipment.
I've been here for a month, but the doctors couldn't give me anything to relieve my pain as the hospital has run out of medicine. I have swelling in my throat and I have a kidney problem. I'm suffering from immense pain and I can't sleep at night.
The health workers also expressed their regret that a lot of changes could have been seen on the ground at this moment had the promises by the peace agreement in South Africa been implemented immediately.
እቶም ብህይወት ሰአናየም እውን ክተርፉልና ለኹሉ ዕድላት ካጋጥም ዝነበረ ይነሩ.
The peace accord would change a lot on the ground had things went based on the agreement. 2 trucks of medical equipment have arrived in Tigray, but this cannot cover the huge demand on the ground. Of course, medical equipment is useful, but we wish we could receive medicines too, as a medicine is a priority.
Finally, the health workers called the world to respond to the calls of millions of Tigrayans who are in desperate need of food and medicine.
The international community
I appreciate the international community for its attempt to supply food and medicine into Tigray so far, and I urge them to redouble their efforts and supply sufficient amount of life-saving aid to the people in Tigray. I also urge the Ethiopian people to hear our calls and respond to it. We're calling for medicine and food. Millions are voicing their agonies.
I expect the international community to put pressure on anyone who tries to obstruct entry of food supply into Tigray and provide unfettered humanitarian supply to our people. The international community should also put pressure on Eritrean forces to leave our land.
Education system in Tigray has been totally collapsed due to the 2-year-long war. As a result, teachers are denied of their salaries and students forced to quit school. Our reporters have visited Hawti Secondary School in Magala, currently repurposed into an IDP camp to observe the current situation in the school. Aragao Mikhail reports.
This is Hawalti Secondary School in Maqala. Before the start of the war on Tigray, the school had more than 70 faculty members and support staffs, as well as around 1,645 students. According to Tawalda Kasai, director of Hawalti Secondary School, currently the school is repurposed to shelter IDPs from Western Tigray, as education is terminated and teachers of the school are dispersed off elsewhere, facing devastating socio-economic crisis due to the 2-year war.
For almost 2 years now, the school was repurposed to shelter internal displaced persons of Western Tigray. These days, the school is sheltering too many IDPs, the offices included. Most of our teachers are dispersed elsewhere, as they are denied of their salaries and exposed to devastating socio-economic crisis. So, just as the rest of our society, our teachers are also forced to rely on humanitarian aid to sustain their lives and the lives of their families.
Told also tells that the war on Tigray has left a deep-rooted psychological trauma on students, and this is going to demand lots of efforts and takes time to heal from such kind of trauma.
The case of our students is also similar, as they are forced to quit school. Some of them have joined the armed struggle, and others forced to remain idle and live in unstable conditions which exposes them to different addictions. On top of the collateral damage of the schools in Tigray, the psychological trauma that our students are enduring is far deep, and it's going to demand lots of things to help them back to the normal life they once had.
Told also calls the international community to help people in Tigray to live in freedom and put pressure on the withdrawal of external forces from Tigray.
What we expect from the international community is to help us live in freedom in our own land. We didn't invade others, and we are not seeking others' interests, but we need the external forces that annexed our land to leave Tigray. And most of all, if unfettered humanitarian assistance is starting to enter Tigray and basic services are restored, hopefully people in Tigray will again start to live in a normal life against all orders. In a similar manner, the school is also always ready to reopen and receive students once things are restored to normalcy.
It has been almost a month since a peace deal was signed between the governments of Tigray and Ethiopia, but the demand and aid on the ground keeps going as disproportionate as it has always been.
That's the news for now. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.